For Muhammad Ali Muhammad Salawat.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي نور قلوبنا بأنوار المحبة العلوية وأكمل لنا ديننا بولاية المرتزوية وتم نعمته علينا بهداية الحيدرية ونصلي ونسلم على سيد من خلق المؤمن الحق بالحق حبيب إلهنا وطبيب نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الهداة المهديين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يوم إداوتهم إلى يوم الدين اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا صلوات Brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum. Over the last few nights that I've been blessed to be amongst your presence in this heavenly majlis, we gone to a very interesting topic that the question that was posed is, why did we become Shias? And we got to a stage last night that we became Shias because we answered the call to the vilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen in the Alam Misaq, Alam Ahd. And because we pledged our allegiance to Amir al-Mu'mineen in that world, eventually our time comes that we are then incarnated into this world. How long we have to wait? And as you can see, every generation that comes after us, their Shiaism is different to the generation before. Because this is only natural, because only knowledge can increase, ilm can increase. The power of the Shia can only increase. Like again, we've said many times before, if you look at the Arba'in Ziyarat, only even 10 years ago till today, this is increasing. So this is a natural progression towards the coming of the Imam of this time, which we all know one of the things that the Imam will do is he will increase the knowledge in the human beings. So this ahd and this misal that we did, every single one of us, is that all that it was all about was that we answered a call. That's all it is. There's nothing more to it. They put a call out, we answered it. So we have to look that can anybody become a Shia? Can we increase the population of Shias? The answer to this is no. Why do I say this? Because if you look in the Quran, if you look at all our traditions, you look at Nahjul Balagha from the beginning to the end, if any one of you can find for me just one instance where one of our Imams or the Prophets, any of them, went around trying to convert people, you will never see this. You will never see any of our Imams go onto a minbar in a masjid and say to the people, come and all become Shias today. Why? Because the Shia was already created in the other alam that we said last night. This is why, like I said, we don't have this concept of da'wah. You will see our brothers have. Every Sunday they are in Hyde Park Corner, or they are standing outside in the high streets in places like Luton and places like that, calling onto the Khilafah, calling onto there. They call it da'wah. But as Shias, we do not have this. Because the Shia part of you is predetermined. Tonight, just for that you get this yaqeen and certainty that I'm not talking gibberish, I'm going to inshallah compound this onto you. You will see in the Quran, when Allah talks about the people who have faith, It says in the Quran that when they ask these people, why do you have faith? They say, Rabbana. Now they are saying to God. They're not saying to the person who's asking this question, why do you have faith? They are answering the question back to God. They say, Rabbana, innana sami'na munadiyan yunadi lil iman. Where was this call? Which munadi? Who was making this call? So they had heard it in the previous world. So when they heard that call to iman, they brought iman. So you will see that every single prophet that came, every single imam that came, all they did was to invite people to renew that pledge, that allegiance that they made in the Alam Misal. Not only to Allah, but to the Hujjat of Allah. And this is the point that we have to remember. That every imam, every prophet is a direct link to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You see in the Quran, Allah says about a group of people that were going to fight, يَدَ اللَّهِ فَوْقَ أَيْدِيهِمْ, that the hand of God was on their hand. Where was it? Was it a physical hand? Or was it because the hand of the Prophet was on their hand? This is the Yadullah. So this is very clear that we cannot force people into the Shia religion. We shouldn't even try to convert them. All we do is act as a Shia, make the call of Shia. If it's in their heart, if it's in their soul, it will show and it will manifest itself.
Muhammad wa ali Muhammad salawat.
A few hadiths, even for myself, I sometimes am very scared to mention them on the minbar. Because until I can fully understand them, I don't like to repeat them for anyone else. One of these, and this hadith has come 3 or 4, 5 different times from different imams. And the unification of this hadith is this, that they, when they have asked, that do you know who this person was, for instance? They would say, yes, we know who this person was, we knew who their father was, and we know all of their generation until the day of Qiyamah. Not only do we know them, we know their names. So this means that if they know the Shia's names to the day of Qiyamah, that the Shias are predetermined. At the Battle of Siffin, when Amir al-Mu'mineen was fighting alongside Malik al-Ashtar, Malik al-Ashtar and Amir al-Mu'mineen were very close friends. They were even brothers. They were fighting alongside each other. At one point they stopped because they were tired, they sat down, maybe had something to eat. Malik decided to have a joke with Amir al-Mu'mineen. He decided to have a laugh with Amir al-Mu'mineen to lighten the situation. He said to Salam alaikum. He said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, "Oh Ali, I think you're becoming a bit old and slow." Amir al-Mu'mineen said, "Malik, why do you say this?" He said, "Because from the morning that we have been fighting, I have killed about 300 to 400 people, but you have only killed 100. So therefore, you must be getting old and slow." Amir al-Mu'mineen said to Malik al-Ashtar that the difference between my killing the people and you killing the people is that everybody that comes to fight me, I look into their eyes, I look into their heart, I look into their soul to see that somewhere along the generations in their lineage, is there a Shia of mine there? If I see one of my Shias, I spare this man's life. Predetermined. Rasulullah was walking in the streets. Outside the mosque, he saw Hussein, who was at the time was about 3 or 4 years old, was playing with the other children out in the streets. One of the boys that was playing with Imam Hussein decided to chase him. Imam Hussein started to run. This boy started to run after Imam Hussein. He tripped over, he fell, he hit his head on the ground, and it started to blood coming out of his head. Rasulullah, as soon as he saw this boy fall over, he ran over to him, he picked him up, he wiped away all the dust from his face, he then took a handkerchief out of his pocket, he wiped all the blood away from him, then he held him, then he kissed his forehead, then he kissed his lips, then he kissed his throat. Sahaba kiram were with Rasulullah. And they said to Rasulullah, this is not Hassan or Hussein. Usually this sort of treatment is for either Hassan or Hussein. Who is this kid? Rasulullah said he is one of the 72. So you see, this predetermination is there. One more. Rasulullah was walking with Amir al-Mu'mineen in the streets of Medina in the noon. Very hot weather. As they were walking, 4 people were carrying a body. This body they were carrying, because there was no one else, only 4 people carrying it, was obvious this guy was not very rich, or he didn't have any family, or he wasn't very popular, because no one else had come for the janazah. So Rasulullah said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, "Oh Ali, how do you feel like we go and do a janazah today?" Amir al-Mu'mineen said, the sawab is, let's go and do it. So Rasulullah came with Amir al-Mu'mineen, they held the front of the body. They said to the 2 at the front, you go to the back, me and Ali will carry this body. They took it to Jannatul Baqi. Rasulullah and Amir al-Mu'mineen took an axe and a spade. They started to dig the grave themselves. When the other 4 said, let us help, they said, no, we will take care of everything. They then came to put the body in the grave. Rasulullah said, this guy hasn't got a kafan. What should I do? Rasulullah said, okay, I will take off my abba and I will wrap this body in my abba and we'll put it in the grave. Rasulullah then said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, you go into the grave, I will give you the body, then you come out, I will go inside and do the talqeen. So they did janazah, they did talqeen, they put the body in the grave, then Amir al-Mu'mineen and Rasulullah covered the grave, they then sat down, did the Fatiha, and then they went. As they were walking back, Rasulullah said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, aren't you going to ask me who this guy was? That we went to so much effort to bury him? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Ya Rasulullah, akhbarni. Who was this man? Was he one of the awliya of Allah? Rasulullah said, no. As they were taking his body, I looked into the face of this mayyit. I looked into his heart. I saw that he had the love of you, Ya Ali, in his heart. So I came and did this. One more. Hazrat al-Zahra, when she gave birth to Imam Hussein. When she gave birth to Imam Hussein, Rasulullah came and said, Jibreel has just told me what they were going to do to this son of yours. So he told her the events of Karbala. Hazrat al-Zahra started to cry immensely. Rasulullah said, oh Zahra, just calm down, do not cry so much. She said, Father, I just want to know a few things. He said, what is it, Zahra? She said, when they killed this Hussein, will you be alive? He said, no, Zahra, I will be gone. Will his father Ali be alive? No, Zahra, Ali will also be killed. Father, will I be alive to cry for my Hussein? No, Zahra, you will be killed soon after me. Will his brother Hassan be alive at least to cry for him? No, Zahra, Hassan will also be killed. So, Father, who is going to cry for my Mazlum? There it is written, Rasulullah took away the parda, the curtain to the alam al-ghaib. And there it is written in our books that he showed them every single azadar of Hussein to Zahra. Do you know what that means? That means you and I were shown to Zahra. Zahra saw us. They know all our names. They know the name of our children to the day of Qiyamah. So Zahra said, Ya Rasulullah, now that you have shown me this, promise me one thing. That on the day of Qiyamah, you personally hold the hands of every single one of them when they want to enter the Jannah. You hold their hand and do the bay'at with them. And I will hold the hands of their women. One more. Imam Reza was walking in the streets of Khurasan with his khadim Abu Salit. Suddenly they walked past the house. Imam Reza said to Abu Salit, stop, I need to go into this house. He said, Imam Reza, whose house is this? Why do you want to go in there? He said, this is a house of a Christian family. They have a son in there. He's very ill. So I just want to go in there. Inshallah, Allah will give him shifa. So they knocked on the door. They opened the door. They said, who are you? I said, I am Ali ibn Musa, the grandson of Rasulullah, the Prophet of Islam. They said, please. Imam Reza went inside. He sat next to the bed of this boy. He was in the bed. He picked up his hand. He held it in his hand. And he started to recite Surah Hamd. Bismillah, Alhamdulillah. The boy started to recite with him. When he finished, Imam Reza put his hand on his heart and his chest, and he said, Inshallah, Allah will give you shafa. And he walked out. Abu Salit, when they came out, he said to Imam Reza, that you said this was a Christian family, that this was a boy that was not Muslim, but when you started to recite Surah Hamd, this boy started to recite. He didn't even ask who you were, it's as if he knew you. He said, Abu Salit, this boy will soon become one of our Shias. So you see, even if you are born into another faith, like we said, people get converted to Shias, don't they? All the time. And so much so, they even go on to become better Shias than maybe many of us. Yes. We have the utmost enemy of Amir al-Mu'mineen. We have the utmost enemy of Imam Hussein. He becomes one of the Shuhada Karbala. So this was predetermined. Salawat bi Muhammad. So what is our role in this world? What are we here to do? We are just here to do wafa or act. That's it. We are here to fulfill our oath to Allah and to the Imam of our time. And again, you will see this in few verses of the Quran where Allah says, Ufu ba'ahdi, ufu ba'ahdikum. I will do wafa to my act with you. You do wafa to the act you have made with me. In several surahs this is coming. So, now we have two parties to this wafa, to this act. One side is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one side is us. So my brothers and sisters, inshallah, over the next few nights, I will show to you and tell you from the Quran that how we can be separated from this oath and allegiance and the pact that we have made with the Imam, and how the enemy is striving to take this act away from us. This is their only struggle. The enemy just wants this from us, so that we walk away from Hussein ibn Ali. A businessman in Tehran, a very wealthy businessman in Tehran, he was saying that he has a daughter. She was about 8 and 9 years old. She was their only child. Around the age of 8 years old, she became very ill. They took her to the doctors and all the tests were done. They came back and said she has a brain tumor and we need to operate on her. So they carried out a few operations, but they were not successful. One day the doctor calls this man and he says, "Look, I need to speak to you. Come to my office." So this man goes and sees the doctor. The doctor says to him that we have done everything in our power to take this tumor out so that she be cured, but unfortunately, this has not been a successful operation. She hasn't got much long left after this to live. So this man thought, I have all this money, let's take her abroad. Maybe the doctors in foreign countries are better. So I said to him, can you write a letter for me, permission, so that I can take my daughter abroad? They said, listen, honestly, there is nothing no doctor can do for her. She is completely guaranteed to die, and die also very soon. So what I want you to do is take her home, so at least she can die in her own house, in her own room, surrounded by a family, rather than a hospital room. So he said, when do you want me to come and take her? As soon as possible, the better. She hasn't got much. So he said, I brought my daughter home. My wife said to me, why have you brought her home? Has the operation been successful? He said, inshallah, it is successful. But they said that you can go home. So this man said that every night I couldn't find a way to tell my wife the truth as to what's really wrong with her, and the fact that she's only got a few days. So he said, I wouldn't go home. Every night I'll find an excuse to stay late at work or go out, and as late as possible go home. So when I go home, my wife would already be asleep, so I could just go to bed, not to face her. He said, every night I would go and just walk the streets randomly. I would cry for myself to myself that this only daughter of mine, and those who have a daughter will know what I'm talking about. A daughter has a very special bond with the father. Again, it's one of those bonds that Allah has placed in the heart. So he said, every night I would go for myself so that my wife wouldn't see me in this state. I would just walk in the streets, I would shout, I would scream, I would cry just to relieve myself and then go back home. He goes, one night when I was walking one of the streets of Tehran, I saw there was a procession and a commotion, and there was this truck. And it was going down the street, people were running after this truck, people were throwing money at this truck, the women were throwing their gold, their jewelry at this truck, people were coming and rubbing their chadors on this truck. So I said, what is this truck? What are people doing? So I asked one of those people, there was a bystander, I said, do you know what this is about? They said, yes, this is a wooden structure that they are going to build the new Zarih of Abul Fazl al-Abbas based on this wooden structure. They are taking this structure from a workshop in Tehran to a workshop in Isfahan, where there the craftsman will build the Zarih of Abul Fazl al-Abbas, and this is just a template of it made from wood. So he said, I've got nothing to lose. He went up to this wooden Zarih. He placed his hand on this wooden Zarih. And he said, oh Abbas, I have heard you are a man. And we have been told that if you want anything, go and ask from a man. Oh Abbas, I have also heard that you were also wafadar to Hussein. And he's talking in his heart. Oh Abbas, I have also heard that when you died, you were too ashamed to take your body back to the tent. Which is why when Hussein came to your body, you said to him, Hussein, all my 35 years that I have been alive, I have never once asked you for anything in my entire life. But Hussein, today I am going to ask you one request. Please do not take my body back to the Darul Harb, back to the tents. Why, Abbas? Because I am ashamed of Sakina. I am also ashamed of Rubab, that I could not bring the water back to the tents. So he said, I said this. Then I said, oh Abul Faz, I too am like you. I am too ashamed to go back home and face my wife and tell her that our only daughter is about to die any day. He said, Abbas, I will make an ahd with you that if you cure my daughter, I will give equivalent of 100,000 pounds to your Zari, and also every year on the day of Ashura, I will give water and food to all the children I see in any majalis. He goes, I came back home. As soon as I got near my house, I saw the people were outside. Everyone is crying. I said, oh God, daughter has passed away. So he goes, I sat down in the street and I started to cry. One of my family members saw me and said, you need to come inside. He said, I don't have the strength to get up from this floor. I do not want to see the body of my daughter. He said, no, come inside. So he goes, when I went inside, I saw my wife. She's also sat on the floor. She's crying. She's hitting herself in the face. I said, 100%, my daughter has died. So he goes with trepidation. I went to the bedroom of my daughter. I said, as soon as I opened the door, I will see the janazah of my daughter. I didn't know how I could face this. He said, when I opened the door, I saw my daughter sat up in bed. I went to her and I said, Baba, you are well? She said, Father, let me tell you something. I could not say this to mother, what happened. And this is, again, those who have your daughter, you will know. The daughter will only tell the father certain things. He will not tell the mother anything else. This is why Hazrat Ruqayya in Sham, she only spoke to the head of her father. She wouldn't tell her mother about anything. So he said, Father, she goes, I grabbed my daughter, I sat her on my lap. Tell me, my daughter, what's happened? She said, Father, I will only tell you this, that when I was lying in bed, the angel of death came, and he said, I have to take your soul. It is time for you to go. Your time has run out on this earth. She said, Father, I wasn't scared, but I said, if this is what you are saying, and this is the command, that my time is up, then take me. Because as soon as he came to take my soul, suddenly this man appeared from nowhere. He said to the Malik al-Maut, stop, do not take her soul. He said, but this is the command of Allah, that I have to take her soul. He said, no, I am telling you that I have a command from Hussein ibn Ali, that do not take the soul of this girl. He said, why? He said, because her father has made an ahd with me. I am also wafadar to the ahd. I will keep my side of the Prophet. He said that the angel of Maut said to him, who are you? He said, I am Abul Fazl al-Abbas ibn Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. So he said, Malik al-Maut had me in his arms. He said, okay, if this is the command from Hussein ibn Ali, he came to give my body to Abul Fazl al-Abbas. When he came to do this, Abul Fazl al-Abbas had an abba on his shoulder. The abba fell back. I saw that Hazrat Abbas did not have any arms. So he said, how can I carry this body when I do not have any arms? He then came over to me. He kissed me on my forehead. He said to me that when you see your father, say that Abbas is a man. Abbas is wafadar to his ahd. You made a promise. You keep your wafad to your ahd. I will keep my wafad to my ahd. This is why on the day of Ashura, when he went to bring water and 4,000 enemies surrounded him, he said, there is no gham that if they strike me on the head and they split my head, so long as there is water in the mashgiza, there is no gham. As he progressed a little bit further, one of the enemies cut off his right hand. He grabbed the mashq with his left hand. He said, my hand has gone in the way of Hussein, so be it, at least I've got the mashq. Then someone came to cut his left arm, they cut it off. He grabbed the mashgiza with his mouth. He said, I've given my left arm in the way of Hussein, it doesn't matter so long as the mashgiza is there. Someone then hit an arrow into his eyes, the blood started to pour. He said, it doesn't matter, my eye also go in the way of Hussein. Suddenly, one person hit an arrow and it hit the mashgiza. The water started to pour out onto the ground. There Abbas knew that all of his hope was now cut off. He fell on the horse. He did not have any arms. Someone came from behind. They took a metal mace and they struck Hazrat Abbas into the head. He did not have any arms to grab onto the horse. So it is written in the Maqatil that he fell flat on his face onto the ground. When he fell, he heard a woman saying, "Oh my son Abbas, come here." He said, "My mother Umm Baneen is in Medina. So who is it that is calling me my son?" He opened his eyes, he said, "Who are you?" He said, "Oh Abbas, I am Fatima al-Zahra, the mother of Hussein." So when Hazrat al-Zahra called him son, he shouted out, "Ya Akha, idrik Akha." Abu Abdullah came to the body of Abu al-Fazl al-Abbas. Like I said, he said to Imam Hussein, "Do not take my body back to the Khaybar. Oh Hussein, wipe away the blood from my eyes so I can look in your face one more time before I pass away." Sakina Kubra said that when my father saw the Anam of Abbas fall on the ground, he got on his horse and like a whirlwind with high speed on Zuljanah, he raced towards the Alqama with a sword in his hand like Haydar al-Karrar. He split the army, he got to the body of Abu al-Fazl al-Abbas. But when I saw my father coming back, he was walking like a 90-year-old man. He was using his sword like a walking stick. He was holding his back and he was walking like this back and back. Why was this, father? Oh Sakina, when I got to the body of Abbas, I said this to him, "Al-an in katharat zahri." Oh Abbas, now my back is broken. وَكَلَّتْ غِيلَتِي وَالْكَبَدُ قَاتِلِي. Oh Abbas, if these people do not kill me to this evening, your gham will kill Hussein. وَأَنْقَتَأَتْ رَجَائِي. Oh Abbas, with your death, all my hope is cut off that these people will not attack my women and children after me. أَلَا لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ فَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلَبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ. يا رب أبا الفضل العباس، بحق أبا الفضل العباس، اشف صدر أبا الفضل العباس بظهور الحجة. السلام علينا وعلى عباد الله الصالحين. السلام عليكم.